Welcome back to the channel. Today we are reacting to U.S. Pioneers Black Girl Magic Stories. Help me get this video to 1,000 likes. But before we start, consider checking out my second YouTube channel named See My Power. It's the men's version to this YouTube channel. As always, don't forget to like, share, watch more videos, and subscribe to the channel.
I don't know what it looks like, what it feels like, what it is, but I know when I get there, when I find it, it's for me. I don't know what it looks like.
Welcome to Black Girl Magic Stories presents U.S. Women Pioneers, where we take an expedition into the lives of some of America's most influential pioneers and trailblazers. In this four-part series, Makeda, Nia, and I are joined by some amazing women to give reverence to the ancestors, celebrate the pioneers of the past and present, and contemplate on the future of a more equitable society.
Before this video fully starts, let me know in the comments from each woman which one best resonates with you. Tell me your thoughts about them as well.
For generations, brave Black women have been contributing to the progress, success, and strength of our nation while often facing insurmountable adversity. From business tycoons to public servants, notables in sports and media, prominent activists, and game-changing entrepreneurs, these giants among us have left an indelible mark on American history.
In no particular order, we celebrate these amazing women, but remember history as being made as we speak. So we encourage you to use the list as a catalyst for inspiration, create, explore, discover, innovate, and advocate, and get into some good trouble. We start our list with Phyllis Wheatley Peters, who was born approximately in 1753 and died in 1784. Wheatley was a poet and is credited as the first published African-American woman author. Born in West Africa, she was sold into slavery at the age of 7 or 8 and brought to Boston, Massachusetts. Remarkable for her time, Wheatley was taught and quickly learned English. By the age of 12, she was reading Greek and Latin classics in their original languages.
Just like I told you to tell me a little bit about the people as they go on, when it comes to this woman, she is one of the reasons why I write books myself.
Due to the unique education opportunities given to her. In 1773, Wheatley became the first African-American woman to publish a book of poetry. Her work focused on the themes of faith, freedom, and justice for all people. Wheatley's compositions were soon praised by many prominent colonizers of the time, including George Washington, who invited her to visit him in 1776. She wrote a poem in his honor, which he later acknowledged as a performance which I do not believe has been exceeded by any of her contemporaries. Wheatley's legacy lives on today as an example of courage and resilience in the face of adversity. Her work continues to inspire generations of writers and activists alike.
Our next pioneer is Shirley Chisholm, one of the most prominent civil rights politicians of her time. Shirley Chisholm was a trailblazer in American politics. She was the first African-American woman elected to the United States Congress and the first major party African-American candidate for President of the United States. During her time in Congress, she fought for civil rights, women's rights, and education reform. She also served on several committees, including the Veterans Affairs Committee, followed by the Education and Labor Committee. Chisholm was an advocate for social justice and economic equality. She worked to end poverty and discrimination against minorities, women, and other marginalized groups. She also championed legislation that would provide equal access to education, healthcare, and employment opportunities. In addition to her political career, Chisholm was an educator and author. She wrote 2 books about her experiences as a politician, Unbought and Unbossed in 1970 and The Good Fight in 1973. Her legacy continues to inspire people around the world to fight for social justice and equality.
Ain't I a woman? Sojourner Truth, who was born as Isabel Baumfree in approximately 1797 and passed away in 1883, was an African-American abolitionist and women's rights activist. Born into slavery, she escaped to freedom in 1826 and became a powerful advocate for the rights of African Americans and women. She is best known for her famous "Ain't I a Woman" speech, delivered at the Ohio Women's Rights Convention in 1851. In addition to her activism, Sojourner Truth wrote several books, including her autobiography, The Narrative of Sojourner Truth, a Northern Slave, in 1850. She also worked as a recruiter for the Union Army during the Civil War. After the war, she continued to fight for civil rights and women's suffrage until her death in 1883. Sojourner Truth was a remarkable woman who dedicated her life to fighting for justice and equality. Her legacy continues to inspire people all around the world today.
Lorraine Hansberry was born in Chicago on May 19, 1930. Hansberry was raised by activist parents who took a powerful stand against discrimination.
And here's another person of a reason why I write books.
Waging an important legal battle that challenged housing segregation. Through her firsthand experience of the trial and legal war, Hansberry transformed this injustice into her most famous work, A Raisin in the Sun. The title was inspired by Langston Hughes' poem Harlem, What Happens to a Dream Deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? A writer and playwright, Hansberry was the first African-American woman author to have a play performed on Broadway. She was also the first African-American to win the New York Drama Critics Circle Award at only 29 years old. As a supporter of the Daughters of Bilitis, one of the earliest lesbian rights organizations, Hansberry wrote entries in the latter, as well as unpublished letters in One magazine urging gay men to accept feminists. Briefly married and a closeted lesbian most of her life, Hansberry came out a few years before her death, at the young age of 34, vowing to create my life, not just accept it.
Our next trailblazer is Angela Davis, an American political activist, scholar, philosopher, and author. She rose to prominence in the 1960s as a leader of the Communist Party USA and was associated with the Black Panther Party. She has been an advocate for civil rights, gender equality, and prison reform. Davis has written several books on race, class, and gender issues, including Women, Race, and Class in 1981 and Are Prisons Obsolete in 2003. She has also lectured at universities around the world and served on the faculty of several universities in California. Davis has received numerous awards for her activism, including the Lenin Peace Prize in 1979 and the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute Fred L. Shuttlesworth Human Rights Award in 2020.
Maya Angelou was a renowned poet, novelist, civil rights activist, and educator. She is best known for her autobiographical works, including her 1969 memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, which made literary history as the first nonfiction bestseller by an African-American woman. Angelou's other works include numerous poetry collections, plays, and essays. Angelou was also a prolific speaker and lecturer, delivering lectures at universities across the world. She received more than 20 honorary degrees from colleges and universities in recognition of her work. In 1993, she became the second poet in U.S. history to be invited to recite a poem at a presidential inauguration when she read her poem, On the Pulse of Morning, at former President Bill Clinton's inauguration ceremony. In addition to her literary accomplishments, Angelou was an active participant in the civil rights movement and worked with Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and other prominent figures of her era. She served on 2 presidential committees during former President Gerald Ford and former President Jimmy Carter's respective administrations and was awarded the U.S. Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Barack Obama. Angelou passed away in 2014 at the age of 86, but left behind a legacy that continues to inspire people around the world. Her words have been quoted by countless public figures, and her works are studied in classrooms across the globe.
Barbara C. Jordan was a trailblazer in American politics. She was the first African-American woman elected to the Texas Senate and the first African-American woman from the South elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. Jordan was also a leader in civil rights, advocating for the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and spoke at the Democratic National Convention in 1976. In addition, she served as a professor at the Lyndon B. Johnson School of Public Affairs at the University of Texas at Austin and was appointed by former President Bill Clinton to serve on the United States Commission on Immigration Reform. Jordan's legacy lives on through her work and as an advocate for justice and equality. Her commitment to public service has inspired generations of Americans to fight for what is right and just. Jordan lived with her partner, Nancy Earl, for nearly 20 years until her own passing in 1996.
Ethel Waters was an American singer and actress who made a lasting impact on the entertainment industry. She began her career in the 1920s, performing in vaudeville shows and touring with jazz bands. In 1929, she made her Broadway debut in the musical Blackbirds of 1928, which earned her critical acclaim. From the 1930s until the 1970s, she continued to perform on stage and in films, becoming one of the first African-American women to star in a major motion picture. She was also the first African-American woman nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award. In addition to her acting career, Waters was also a successful recording artist. She released several albums throughout the 1930s, including her signature song, Stormy Weather, in 1933, which became an instant classic and is still performed today. Waters was also an outspoken advocate for civil rights. She used her platform to speak out against racism and injustice, and she was active in organizations such as the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, and the National Council of Negro Women.
Now, I heard a lot of themes surrounding liberation and giving voices to women throughout history.
If you feel this list of pioneer women is incomplete, please put names in the comments below that you feel should have been added to the list.
Are we still struggling to find a voice? What does liberation look like for us today? Oju, Makeda?
That's a great question. What do you think, Makeda?
I do think it's a great question. I also think it's a very packed question, right? Because I think it looks different for everyone. One of the things that I strive for, you often hear that this society is the water that we swim in, right? And so for me, it is a constant recognition that I am going to swim upstream, right? I am not going to just tread, but I am going to swim upstream. And that for me is liberation, and it is striving for freedom.
I like that. I like that. I think for me, for liberation, we have the freedom to go wherever we want. We do whatever we want, whenever we want, how we want. There's no stopping. If I want to go out at 2 a.m., I can go out at 2 a.m. If I want to tell someone to pay up, they pay up. I don't have to just kind of wait around for somebody to do something, or if you please, could you help me? No, I can go in bold, and it's not seen as being aggressive. I can be seen as assertive, and it's respected.
Love that. I think oftentimes when we think about liberation, or rather captivity, we think about it being a physical limitation, but I'm thinking about the ways in which our community still needs to be liberated mentally. There is a lot that was taken away from us that we're still finding our way back to: cultural norms, ways in which we interact with one another, ways in which we are able to step back and view ourselves as brothers and sisters.
What does liberation and being liberated mean to you?
I think that we have a lot of work to do in that sense. And so, yes, we might be financially liberated. We might be physically liberated from the incarceration system, or whatever the case may be. We still have a lot of mental roadblocks to surpass.
Yeah. You talk about that, and it's the systems all around us, right? Whether it's the mental health system, whether it's the incarceration system or mass incarceration. And so I think that, the beautiful thing about these systems is they've been designed, right, to exclude people that look like us, right, and to deny us access. And so what does it look like to do the work of redesigning these systems so that our greatness is uplifted, and we are, able to have access to all of the things that we dream to have, or that we have a right to have.
Or not be harmed, because that's the other part of it too, because some systems are in place to bring bondage.
That's right.
And they're brought to bring us down. So how do we then say, okay, we respect it, or we're going to change the narrative?
So you all have made so many amazing points. And as we think about Women's History Month, right, and we think about Black Girl Magic stories, the spicy topic that kind of, circulates around the Black community, as well as, the political landscape, is that of reparations, right? And do we believe in reparations? Do we support reparations and the fight for civil rights? And where should that fight be, right, for our civil rights?
That's good. And it's great to see both of you again, honestly, just, from season 1 to be back here again for Black Girl.
I had this same conversation with someone about reparations, and I asked them, why do people automatically assume reparations have to mean money? Reparations could be land. Reparations could be, not paying taxes for so many years, a huge amount of time. Tell me in the comments, if reparations doesn't mean money, what could reparations also represent?
Magic story, so it's great to come home.
Yes.
That's a really good question about reparations. I think they should be done, but how do we do it? And also thinking about tying it in with Native Americans,
yes,
and the importance of that as well.
Yes.
And seeing how there's more unity that we should have between nationalities, yes, and ethnic groups.
Yes.
That's something. It's a conversation that we need to start. If we can start the conversation and at least start seeing how we can move in that direction, yes, that would be very helpful. But I agree.
Yeah, I don't think we can have conversations about equity without considering reparations, because equity, in order for us to be equal, we have to have the same starting point. And I know there's no way at this point for us to have the exact same starting point, but giving us a little bit of that push forward so that we can have so many of the same opportunities, because it's not that we're lacking in ability, it's that our starting line is way back there. And so when we're, going to school with our peers and then we're graduating with a lot different circumstances than they are. Their parents are buying them homes, or they're giving them a small loan of $1 million. and so it's like, that's what we're talking about. No one is asking for handouts. We're asking for equal footing. That's it. And so I do think it's a very important conversation. And along with that, I would genuinely like 40 acres and a mule. Like, I would love a farm. So if anyone's handing that out, I will take that as well. Thank you.
Yeah. You both bring up great points. And as you said, how, right? How do we, build out what reparations looks like? And I believe that we should be doing that in community with Black people and our Indigenous Native American communities. And you're right, Nia. You speak about equity, and equity is really about, the design of systems, and the systems all around us have been designed to steal from us, right? The systems have been designed to not allow us equitable access to the things that we need. So much of our history has been buried, right? And we don't come to the table with those things, the ability to have built generational wealth. Right? And so I think that you're right. Those conversations should be had. And I think that we should be provided the opportunity to have stable footing, right? And be able to have access.
So another question that I wanted to pose to you all is, as we speak about liberation and focus on civil rights, where should the civil rights conversation be going at this point?
That's a good point.
That is a very good point. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't think that we can pinpoint just one place, right? When you think about all of the systems that operate around us to build this society or to hold this society together, they have all been designed, right, off of the oppression of people of color, right? And so anywhere that you may enter into any space, right, where there is a system there that exists, right, you have to understand that someone's civil rights, right, may not look the the same as another person's, right? And so I think that where we start is by recognizing where we see injustice and speaking out about it. Right? Whether it is going to, apply for a loan for a home, whether it is going to seek medical care and recognizing that, we may not be treated fairly, and advocating for ourselves and advocating for others.
That was such an excellent point, Makeda. And I would say, in terms of where the civil rights movement is going, where that conversation should be had, it is absolutely in dismantling, I would say, a lot of these oppressive systems. The incarceration system is outdated, and at this point we know that it seeks to imprison very specific populations, and I think that we can't continue moving forward with these systems in place. I think that we need to reallocate funds towards human services and towards systems that benefit society, as opposed to taking portions of the society that we deem undesirable and locking them away. We need to place money in rehabilitation programs and, as I said, social services. And so I think that in talking about civil rights, we have to think about individual rights as well. Women's rights is a very key part of that conversation, and we're in Women's History Month now, so what better time to sit down with your girls and have some of those important conversations, because I think at this point it has to be grassroots. It has to be the people contacting their representatives and doing our own work to make sure that they don't remain conversations but become actual action items.
I think one thing about that also is, what can we do individually each day? What is one thing you can do? One thing for me was, I was coming home, I just was, in the car, and I happened to see that an African-American man, was stopped in my neighborhood. He was handcuffed, and there was a cop searching his vehicle, as well as 2 cops on him. So for my part, I stayed and I watched, and I made sure that as he was frisked, which was a bit much for me, honestly, at least he had someone else there that saw it, and he saw me. And when it was getting to be a bit too much and he was exclaiming, he at least knew there was someone else there witnessing what he was going through. Yes. I didn't draw attention to myself in that sense, because I didn't know how I could, change or react. But at least being there in that space with him, and then him knowing someone else was there watching what was happening to him, I felt that at least I did something. And I let my family know, I saw this is what happened right here in my neighborhood, and just kind of at least giving him that honor and dignity that he wasn't getting at that moment.
And Oju, thank you for sharing that, because what you have done here, right, is you've shared that story, right? And we know that change can come through storytelling. So it's about changing the narrative, right? Because you've shared that story now with myself and Nia and with everyone else, and that gives us the ability to say, wait a minute, what will Oju do, right, if we were seeing someone else pulled over? So we have to really be intentional about changing the narrative, because the narrative that is now associated with the Black and brown body is that of one of disrespect and devaluation, right? And so how do we change that narrative?
And non-ownership, period. Like disrespect, non-ownership at all. And even thinking about some of these people that we spoke about, these women we talked about, in these profiles. It's huge, thinking about what they went through and the adversity they had to overcome. Sojourner Truth, Phyllis Wheatley, like just thinking about their lives. Even Fannie Lou Hamer, having things done to her without her consent or permission. Henrietta Lacks. Yes. And then we have someone like Dr. Green, who she's changing that narrative. She, inspired by her aunt and uncle who took care of her because she was orphaned at an early age, in honor of them, she's been doing work to fight cancer, because they all died, both of them died of cancer. So her changing that narrative that, okay, how can I learn from us and from those around me and change the course of medical history? It's profound.
It's powerful.
It is. So with civil rights, what can we do each day? What's one thing we can do? Sometimes it's really big, thinking about the greater thing, but what can I do in my space that I control? And when I know I can at least control one thing, and at least give room to another person to know that, hey, I am controlling me, but I'm here for you as well. If we keep doing that, it grows into a greater net and a greater support system.
I would agree. I agree.
So, Makeda and Nia, it's our tradition to end every episode asking, what's your Black Girl Magic story? So, what's the story for you in 2023?
I think for me, you know, I'm going to fall into a saying that was made very popular by everyone's favorite aunt, right? Maxine Waters, and that's I'm reclaiming my time. Because what I realize is time is that commodity that we don't get back, right? And because we don't, I'm being very intentional and very thoughtful in 2023 and beyond about what I give my energy to and what that looks like. My profession, you know, I do the work of equity, and so it's a constant position and stance to swim upstream, right, and not drown in the water that we swim in and in, you know, the dominant culture, right? But I think for me personally, it's being very intentional about saying no, right? And it's being very intentional about taking care of myself. Whatever I may need in that moment, I do it for myself, and I do it unapologetically.
That's really good. You took my word. Mine was intentional. My word for 2023 is intentional. Yes. Being intentional, like you said, with self-care, being intentional with being more timely, being intentional with, hey, we should get together. Okay, when are we getting together? When are we doing it? And kind of holding myself to that, holding myself accountable and holding other people accountable too. So that's for me, intentionality in all aspects of life.
I love both of those. The first word that's coming to my mind is freedom, but freedom in the sense of allowing myself to show up as I am. Yes. I think that I get caught up in a lot of perfectionism and what version of myself this person or that person needs, or what version of myself my job might need, and not, you know, foregoing or negating professionalism, but sometimes I just want to show up as my authentic self, and giving myself the freedom and permission to do that, the freedom to say no, as you said. I think that there are so many shoulds that are placed on us as women, and even just the freedom to say, like, it's okay that I'm not where I thought I would be at this age, or it's okay if I don't meet your expectations for where I'm supposed to be at this age or juncture in my life. I don't have to have this many amount of children or be married, or, you know, I'm going to give myself to the freedom to live life on my terms. So
redefine the status quo.
Absolutely, yes.
Professionalism is you, right? As you are.
And don't feel like you have to have a version. Just be you. You know, there's no need for versions. You're just Nia. And we love you just how you are. You love yourself, we love you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me which parts of this video best resonates with you and the parts that doesn't. Let's have the conversation in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like, share, watch more videos, and subscribe to the channel.